Hey everybody, this is Teezy Created coming to you from Teezy Tuesdays here in the mighty Waikato on the platform StayMe Always. What I'm going to be doing today is teaching all you up and coming artists and producers how to create a track that will be a hit on US iTunes. So today I thought it'd be appropriate to start with my track With That Smoke, which is currently on US iTunes and it has a star next to it. So without further ado, what I'm going to do now is I've just given you a snippet of the intro to this track, and I'm just going to show you how I made the beat. So it's going to be a beat maker session. When I say beat, I mean the percussion only. So this track actually starts off with the strings, but I'm going to teach you guys how I made the beat. So let's just run you back through that one more time. So it starts with the strings. Actually, you know what? Let's start with the strings. So I'll come over to this screen, right? And so what I do is I'll go into the I'll choose a sampler, but over here, how I actually start off is I start off with a software instrument, then I'll go in here, then I'll create an electric piano, and then what I'll do is I'll take the hits here and I'll pull them down here, and then all of a sudden you get a piano, and then I'll go and make the phrasing. So all you can hear right now is just the piano, the electric piano. But what I'll do is I'll go here. So this is a new voice track, and I've pulled up electric piano over here. I don't know if you can see that. See this here? So I've pulled this up into the track that I've just created. So I'm just going to show you how I created the strings for this particular section of the track. So I've got on electric piano, then I come over here to my piano roll. And then what I do is if I have a look at my bass line. So this is my bass line here for the beginning. So that's what I've already produced, and I'm just showing you how I produced it. So I'm just going to solo this track. So here it is here, and then I've come over to my piano roll. So that's the key we want, and then I'll go so I'm just getting the notes and the phrasing correct. So it's dun, 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 dun. So I'm going to do the bass line. So all we do is we just keep taking these phrases out, and all I do, because I've got a bank of samples that I've either played or I've sampled from something else. Most of them I go in and I play at a studio, and then after I've played that instrument or got somebody to come in and play it, I'll obviously get them to play it into a specialized mic depending on what the instrument is, and then I'll take that sample and I'll put it in my sound bank, and then I'll put it into whatever I need it to play from, which will give you the voice. So yeah, so today is going to be the intro to this track. I was going to do a percussion beat making session, but yeah, let's just do the track itself. Okay, so let's go back here. I think that's it. Let's check the phrasing. I think that's one over. So this is a 32 cadence. Some producers like doing a 24. This is a 32. I'll teach you guys about that when I actually make the beat. So I think I've got the phrasing right. So if I listen to this, so if I mute this and put the bass on. So it's just the phrasing. Yep. So that seems to be about right, but we'll see. And then what we do is lengthen it. So we'll lengthen these ones here. These might be longer. Maybe, yeah. And let's go and have a look at how we've actually got these. Okay, so so it's not even on that one. So what I'm doing is I'm flicking between the one that I've already written and got in solid concrete, which is actually the track, and then I'm coming here. So then what we do is we go back over to the main mixer here and create another section. And it'll be here. Cool. And then we bring up both of them. So this one here is, so it's supposed to be. Take that one out, and then it'll be here. So if we play it through, just making sure that all the notes are in the right place. So and then we'll go and add another one. So what we're doing over here is we're adding these. So I'll pull this up, make it larger so you can see it. So it's just these two. So I'm doing this section, and all I'm doing is I'm just creating a replica of this top section here, which is already in there. And if we listen to the electric piano, which is this track here, I'll pull it up here so you can see it. If you've got the electric piano on, then this is what it will sound like. And then what I'll do is I'll add another section, and then come over here to the piano roll. obviously I've got to add another section. So if I listen to it, so that's the wrong note, because if you listen to it, the actual bass, so this is a classical bass instrument, and so if you want to sound them together, you can, because that'll give you a really good idea of where your phrasing and your notes are. What I probably should do is switch these around. And pull this over to this screen here. Yeah, cool. And what have I got? Yep. So, okay. So now you can see it better. This is my first show, so I'm just getting the configuration of my screens right, which ones to have where. Now let's have a listen to this. So I've got these notes here, so it should be. Yeah. So I mean, what I could do is probably just cheat and just pull these down, but I actually want to show you guys how I make them, because it's a real easy process. And you just got to get the phrasing. So what I mean by phrasing is where you place your notes, because that'll give you the groove, and then obviously making sure that the notes are on. So this is a classical scale that I wrote. I create all my own music. I create all my own beats. I've never sampled anything from a record or from anybody else's track yet. I'm not hating on people that do it. I just prefer to create right from the start. So I just use the instruments that are available to me on Logic. So that's the program that I use. And then I obviously use plugins, because it just ultimately it depends on, for each track, I don't have a particular idea on how that's going to sound, because I write according to tunes that I get in my head. For example, a track called Ticket, which I wrote about certain love in my life. But this track here, they're two totally different tracks, Ticket and With That Smoke. And With That Smoke is really talking about your momentum brushes. So, because I'm not too sure if StayMe Always is going to do a show today, so I thought I'd do one and drop it on her platform. Yeah. So anyway, let's get back to this track. So this is the bass, and all we're doing is, I'm just going to show you how I did it. So that's the wrong note. So it'll be... And all I'm doing is... I know the track so well, obviously, because I created it, I just know which notes are coming next. Yeah. So real easy to do when you know your track, and then obviously it's easy to place the phrasing. So yeah, this is part of what I do. So I think if we just come back here, so we can see it all happening, unfolding over here. And then I think I've got to put one more in here. So, and then, because I know how to check. And then here I have to add one. So what I do is I press Option, I copy, see how the plus sign comes up, and I drag it, drop it. That didn't work because I took my finger off the Option. So if we listen to that, so classical music, I really like classical music. It's very powerful, especially when you're using strings and piano. It adds a lot of drama to tracks, and so that's why I like doing it. How I plan my tracks, I never really have a plan. I just start out with a tune, and then sometimes that tune could be for vocals and a hook. Sometimes it could be for an intro. I never really know until I start the track, and then I take the tune that's in my head and I'll put it to a whole lot of different things and see which sounds the best. And in this case, it's this particular tune. I didn't even have the low register and my vocals there to hit that properly. But then, so because I know what the music sounds like in my head, I'm not formulating it while I'm writing it. I already know what it sounds like in there. And then when I'm putting the track together, in this case for this track with that smoke, I knew that it was going to sound better with strings, and so that's why I chose strings to do it. And then obviously because you copy it over like so, and then now I don't need that bass in there. And then what I do is I go over here, and hopefully you can see this. So it's an E piano, and right in the corner here is orchestral, and I go to strings, and then I go to basses, and then now that should sound like this top track here, the one where I've got the icon there. And so if you listen to these two, you'll hear that this one up the top here is actually lower than the bottom one. And so then what we do is we come over here and you press two fingers. If you got a Mac, well, you have to have a Mac to use Logic because Logic is licensed to Apple, and so you can't use Logic without a Mac. And then 2. So if you listen to that now, I've pulled it down an octave. And see, they're both sounding at the same pitch. Okay, cool. And so that's how you do that. And so what I'm going to do now is go down to the string section. So it's the same set of notes. It's just played with the violin this time. Yeah. So then all I do is, I'll show you. So what I do is I'll create another track underneath it, show you exactly. And then all I do is I go back up here to the one that I created. I select that. And you can tell when you're selected because all the notes, the phrases, they come up on this side. And then, now that I've got them all selected, I'll drag this down to the one that I created, all the way down here. And so you can see why I call myself Teezy Created, because that's what we do, we create. And so, what I'll do now is I'll leave that on solo. I've got the violins that I've already got in there soloed too, and an electric piano, and then I'll play them. So then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this here, this electric piano track that I set up and pulled all those phrasings down from the bass. And then I'm going to go across here and I'm going to choose, what does it say up there? Violin 1. So I come into strings and then violin 1. And then I have a listen to the difference between all of them. So I'll go up here and I'll mute the bass because I don't need it anymore. Because what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to replicate these. And so, once I've replicated it, which I have, so I created a new track by going up here, then that comes up, then you press software instrument create, but I've already done that, so I'm not going to do that. And then I've done that down here, and then all I've done is I've dragged this bass track here, the one that I created to match up to this one, the one that's already in there. I've just pulled all this phrasing down to here, and violins, so I put it down to this track when it was electric piano, but then once I've got that in there, then I just go up here, pick, if I go back and show you orchestral, then I go strings, and then I come across and I go violins 1. Why? Because that's what I chose here, violins 1. And then so now I have to just match these up in terms of where they're playing, so that if we listen, they might not be playing in the same octave. Yeah, so then all I do is I come over here and I 2-finger tap on my trackpad on my Mac, just to make sure that I have all of these phrases selected. And as you can see, oh, hold on, is that the right one? If you make a mistake, you just go up to edit and you go undo events. So what I haven't done is I haven't selected the right track. So remember to make sure that you've got the right track selected. What I probably did was I probably had this one here selected, and so I was moving that. And so yeah, so I select the right track, then I come down and I see how that's sounding. So that's too low. Now, if I mute this track that I'm sounding, and I just listen to the one that's already in there, that's perfectly entrenched for the actual song itself, this one. So that gives me the pitch that it's at. So then I come down and I unmute this, play it. So it needs to go up a bit more. So all we're doing, and then I have another listen, so I listen to the one that I'm creating. Yep, and then I go up So I've got them both. And how you check is you unmute one, mute it, or unsolo one rather. So the one that you're creating can be anyone. Just all you're doing is you're checking their registers where they're registering it. And that's on mute. Okay. Now I want to make sure that the one that I just created is registering at the same octave. Yeah, cool. And then what I want to do now is, because these are all harmonies, and so this one here, I'll listen to that, and I'll have a listen to it against the one that I've created. And so then all I do is I've got this one here selected, it's highlighted, and then I just add another track, go back here. So what I'll do is I'll call this one here rehash. So I'll call these rehash for you guys, so that you know what's being rehashed. So this bass line is being rehashed. They're all going to be rehashed. And then this one here will be rehashed too. So what I'll do here is I'll go to the rehash. I'll select that track, and I'll put all the phrases down to the one that I just created. And then all I have to do is go back up here, unsolo that because I don't need it anymore. And then I'm just gonna match it to this. So what I'm trying to do is get the harmony, because this one here, this is violas and it's in harmony. So I always try and use basses here. I'll use basses, and then I'll use a violin, and then I'll use a viola, and sometimes I'll use, just the different kinds. So a lot of people, when they're making music, they have rules. I would say don't have rules. Go for what sounds best, because with music, I find that a lot of the old school, they're purists, and this is not hating on the old school, because they've been there and done it. But when you're creating your own tracks, look for stuff that will give you an edge. And so what I do with my tracks is I play the music or the phrasing. I find the right register, like in terms of whether you're going to play it up in C5 or C6 or C7 or C4 or C3. Play it where it sounds the best. And then
They try to keep us broke. Yo, hit me with that about any crowd, we always up. Proud just like Roger Chapman, make me go and check my brand. Teezy created this bro. Yo, I'm here on stereo. Raise your finger like a split. Roll it out and let it lift. What's that style I got a whiff? You know that I'm loving it. I love you